it's Louise, the Big Head Bookworm. Lovely to see you. Hope you're well. Hope you're having a good day wherever it is you are and whatever it is you're doing. Welcome, welcome back. It's Friday Reads. It's Friday Reads. It's Friday Reads. I'm here with a cat. It's Friday Reads. Yes, me and Miss Sally are here to talk about books that we have been reading this week and if we've got any reading plans for the coming up week. Miss Sally is sat there in her usual position with her paws crossed because she is very much a lady cat. We've just got the door open because Indy the kitten is in a feisty mood and keeps running in and out, so we're just going to have to keep the door open in case he wants to come in. He's on the last day of antibiotics because he's just recovering from an abscess on his cheek. I suddenly looked at him last Saturday and went, "Your face is looking remarkably lopsided. I'm not sure it's supposed to be like that." And I took him to the doctors and they said, "Why have you brought him in? You need to take him to the vets." And I was like, "Oh yeah, sorry about that." Took him to the vets and they had a squidge and it exploded and it's all cleared out and everything like that. He's been on antibiotics and anti-inflammatories all this week and is in fine form. He's discovered a liking to the anti-inflammatories and when he sees the syringe come out, he gets all excited, which is a bit worrying, but it's his last day. He doesn't know that yet. So yeah, I want to say welcome to all the new people that have come along and been watching the videos in the last couple of weeks. Hello, welcome. Welcome to my little corner of the internet. As I say, my name is Louise. I live in the east of England, about 10 miles north of Cambridge, in a small little village next to another village and next to a small little market town. Very much like Midsummer Murders, but without the death. Fortunately. So yes, it's very much as you imagine Midsummer Murders, villages, that's where we kind of live, and it's very lovely. Our market town that is close to us is very much like Corston. I think it's a slightly prettier Corston if you watch Midsummer Murders. I think our little market town here is slightly prettier than that. But yes, as I say, we're just about 10 miles north of the beautiful city of Cambridge, so that's where we are. I live here with the husband, who is lovely, and our 11-year-old son called Benedict, who is the best thing ever. Have to say, best thing evs. He's on a school training day today, so the school are having a training day, so he's at home, which is like a bonus day for me. It's lovely. I feel like I'm on holiday because I've got Benedict around. We went to the supermarket and you see he's 11 now. He doesn't want to go shopping with me. He doesn't want to go shopping with me. He wants to be with his mates. But I managed to finagle him into the car and took him shopping, and it was lovely. It's like old school shopping. When he does the trolley, I'm there going, "Careful, watch out, careful, watch out." But it was lovely. It was just gorgeous. It's lovely having him about, even if he is just in his bedroom. Just knowing that he's in the house is very nice. I normally talk about laundry, give you a laundry update. As you can tell from the weather reflected in the picture above me, it's a terrible day today. We've got real April showers even though it's May. We've had it all week. It's not been a good laundry week. But however, it has given me the opportunity to practice my laundry dash. I'm considering entering in county level championships of the laundry dash. So that's where you are sat, you notice it's gone a bit dark, and then you hear the rain hitting the windows, and you leap up, normally having to put down a hot beverage, and run out of the house towards where your laundry is slowly getting wet again, and you curse the fact that you didn't bring it in half an hour earlier. And you rip off the laundry off the line, scattering pegs here, there and everywhere, and then hurtle back into the house. Normally in inappropriate footwear. So yes, I have been showing my mastery of the laundry dash this week. I am aided and abetted by Indy the kitten because he doesn't like it if it rains, and if he's outside he comes and tells me that it's raining, which is great because I sit there and start stroking him and go, "Oh, you're wet, laundry," and I have to run out. So he always comes out with me. So it's Cat and me leaping out of the house as an added obstacle. So yes, I'm getting very good. I've really got better at it this week. So there has been a very disappointing array of laundry this week for me to notice at my neighbours. Although they have got, I was looking at it this morning, they've got a very large blanket. very large blanket out on the line. Unfortunately, it's still there, so I think they may have they may have gone out and they weren't able to do the laundry dash, so it now is a very large wet blanket out on the line. Better leave it there, it'll dry eventually. That's my top tip. Leave it there, it'll dry eventually. You just might have to, and it's aired. What can go wrong? So yeah, so that's it. Parish notices. I normally give parish notices at the beginning of the Friday reads. Lost my train of thought there. And I've two parish notices. First thing I want to say is thank you to everybody that went along to my Etsy shop, which I opened last week. So I opened it last Friday, and I started making, and after much deliberation started selling some little bookmarks. And I do 3 different types at the moment. I do a Miss Marple bookmark, there we are, all inspired by my love of Agatha Christie. Dame Agatha, Queen of Crime herself, and I do an Agatha because I love Agatha. So these are 2 that are in the shop at the moment: a burgundy Miss Marple and a gold Agatha. And I did really well, and thank you so much to everybody that went and had a look and that favourited the shop and bought one. I became very overwhelmed, and it was lovely. I had so much fun. Like packaging them up and sending them out to you. So I hope the people have received them, and the ones that are abroad may take a little bit longer, but they are all out, apart from one that has recently been sold. So I restocked the shop today, and it takes me a while to make each of them because they're all hand sewn. So I actually sit there listening to Agatha, or I was watching Agatha yesterday sewing my marples. But it takes me a while to do each one, so I can only do 1 or maybe 2 in a day. It's going to be slow and steady progress putting things into the shop, but I have got some more into the shop at the moment. Should you care to go there, I shall leave my details below. So thank you so much. I can't tell you how much pleasure it gives me to do them, and then know that other people would like one. It's made my week. So thank you so much for that. So yeah, so there's some more in the shop, as I say. And the other parish notice is, I was talking to Fenella earlier in the week, and she has told me that she is going to bring back as a set of classes instead of the one-off. It's yoga and gin. She did a couple over the Christmas New Year period, and they were a huge success. And because of that, she is doing a set of 4. So you can buy a set of 4 classes, and it is yoga and gin. So you do yoga and you sample gin, and by the end of the evening, you find you're way more flexible than you'd ever thought. She is going to do different gins each time. Same kind of yoga, but different gins. So it's the different kind of botanicals, so that you can try different gins and see which suits your stretching and which, so that's what she's saying. She has decided that she's going to do the inversions at the beginning of the class after the New Year's Day episode. She feels that it would be more suited, and also she has got a promise from Rupert that he won't forget his athletic support. Harshvinder still blanches at the memory of it. Unfortunately, she was behind him, and I just said just wear tight trousers, but no, apparently Fenella says he has promised, he won't forget. Good, says I. So yeah, so that is, there are 1 or 2 places left. I don't think there are many because it was incredibly popular, but there are 1 or 2 places, and it starts this Saturday evening. Okay, so there we are. So that's our parish notice for the week. Yoga and gin. So what have I been reading? What have I been reading, Sally? What have you been reading, Sally? Nothing, she says. What have I reading? I finished In the Land of Giants by Max Adam. Journey Through the Dark Ages. I just read a couple of more of the walks. This is a book about Max Adams, who is an archaeologist doing specific walks round parts of the United Kingdom, and 1 boat journey and 1 motorcycle journey, looking at where there is evidence and history of the Dark Ages, which is the early kind of AD up to about 1400 AD. So it's really it's the part of history where we don't, it's one part of history where we don't have much written records of, and it's trying to find information out from the landscape, and it's trying to find information out from the archaeology that is left. Now, he approaches it as an archaeologist, so it's very much kind of Christian history, and he puts an awful lot of weight on stuff that he's read and the kind of the written stuff. But that, as I was saying last week, is very, very, very self-selecting, and I enjoyed it, but it kind of really brought home to me how much of history we willfully don't look at, because we can't say for certain what it was. It's easier to pretend it doesn't happen, and there is that sense. I'm reading another book where they acknowledge that St Patrick, who went to when he went to Ireland, found a vibrant culture with a vibrant belief set, and kind of a rich spiritual life. But because it isn't written, apart from what he says, and it had been there for years and years and years, and it was rich and it was evocative, and it was, you know, people's whole lives were invested in this kind of Celtic spirituality. But because it isn't an organised religion where you could say this is what you do on a Tuesday and this is what you do on a Sunday, because it wasn't written, it's discounted as just kind of like, well, it's just mucking about. And it just infuriates me that unless somebody has written it down in an organised fashion, a bloke has written it down in an organised fashion, that and it's that it's just discounted as religious. It's just superstition and it's nothing. So it kind of fired me up a little bit about that. However, I enjoyed reading about the parts of England that I know, and it was nice to think about it in a different way. So I'm glad I read it, and I would recommend it. He's a little bit pompous for me, a little bit pleased with himself, a little bit pompous, but he obviously knows what he's talking about, and so it's joyful to read because of that. So that's In the Land of Giants by Max Adams. I'm glad I read it, and I will keep it because it'll be one of those things that if you go to a different part of the country that I haven't been to before, I'll be tempted to have a look to see whether there are sites of interest nearby. So it has sparked an interest for me. I listened to an audiobook this week, and this is the audiobook that I've been listening to by Agatha Christie. It's 3-act tragedy. It's an Hercule Poirot mystery. I really love it. A lot of people are not that keen on it because it is quite ridiculous. Yes, it is ridiculous. Yes, but I think it's really well done. It's a classic Hercule Poirot, set in 3 acts. Sir Charles Cartwright, the distinguished actor, was giving a party. Around him his guests stood talking and drinking. The Reverend Stephen Babington sipped his cocktail and pulled a wry face. The chatter continued all around. Suddenly Mr. Babington clutched at his throat and swayed. The beginning of the drama, there has to be a death in every act of the 3-act tragedy, and it is gorgeous. I then watched the David Suchet adaptation on the television because it's got Martin Shaw in, and I don't watch it because of Martin Shaw. I don't watch it because he's a handsome man. He may be a handsome man, but that's not why I watch it. He's a very good actor, and it's his acting that I was admiring, nothing else. And I don't want you to suggest otherwise. Okay. So I watched that as well with the beautiful Martin Shaw in. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. I also read, for the first time, I actually managed to get through it, A Duty to the Dead by Charles Todd, which is a Bess Crawford mystery. I don't know whether it is the first Bess Crawford. I think it says there are 2, but I know there's one that follows this. No, An Impartial Witness. I think that might follow this. I think this might be the first one. Anyway, so it's A Duty to the Dead. So Bess Crawford, Elizabeth Crawford, is dedicated to helping those wounded during the Great War. Bess Crawford receives a desperate request from a dying lieutenant while serving as a nurse aboard a hospital ship. So she gets to know this through nursing this man who unfortunately passes away. She kind of gets a bond with him, and he, in his kind of dying hours, says, "Please pass this message to my brother." And she is haunted after she's then injured because the hospital ship that she is on hits a mine, and she gets a broken arm through this, and she's, you know, there's this awful business of her trying to get home after being injured, and the horror of the war. But she has it on her mind that she's got this duty to the dead, that she's got to go and give this message to this brother of the dead soldier. So she does, and mystery ensues. So, very reminiscent, to begin with, of Jacqueline Winspear. So, first of all, I would like to say that Charles Todd is actually a mother and son duo, writing duo. A mother and son writing team. They live in Delaware and North Carolina, respectively. That's what it says. So it's a murder mystery set around the great in 1917. Very reminiscent to Jacqueline Winspear and quite a few other. Also, what's the there's another one that I really like. I can't remember her name, but anyway, there's another one I like. But I really like mysteries, crime mysteries. If you're new to this channel, then I really like crime mysteries set in the 1920s, around the First World War, and between the wars, really, between the First World War and the Second World War. That era is very much my comfort zone, my wheelhouse, the books I really like to read. So I should have just flown through this from the moment I got it, and I got this a couple of years ago, and I've struggled to get into it. Each time I've tried to, I've not got very far, but I was determined this week I was going to do it. And I must admit, I was like, why haven't I read it before? Because it was so good. Up to about 40%. So I really liked it. It gave me all the Jacqueline Winspear, the Maisie Dobbs series books. It gave me all those feels. I liked the storytelling. I liked the kind of building of the kind of who the people were. This kind of slow unfurling. You didn't know how the story was going to go. Obviously, there was a mystery. You weren't even sure what the mystery was. You were finding it out through her, because there's this kind of, you know, cryptic comment that she's got to give to somebody, but you can't see how it's going to develop after she's given it, but it does. And she's a nurse, and she's got this great sense of duty and kind of responsibility to help people, and it just didn't fulfill. I was so disappointed, actually, because at one point I was about 30% in. I was like, my God, this is going to be one of my new favourite books. It's going to be one of my new favourite series, and I'm going to have to go and see if I can get other, you know, Charles Todds, and I'm going to want to read the others. And now I'm not sure if I will. I think I might still have a go with Impartial Witness, but there's some things that have really frustrated me with this. It was repetitious, and it wasn't repetitious in the storyline. The storyline was fine. The storyline got really confused about 40% in. I have to say, it was like, yep, and then it kind of seemed to take a whole different direction. And it's almost as though the mood that had been built up was kind of smashed, and it never regained its confidence and its surety from about 40% in. There's an event that happens that her reaction, Bess Crawford's reaction, just startled me, because the person at the beginning of the book I just thought wouldn't have reacted as she did in the second half of the book. And there was this repetition, so many times she talks about, people say to her, so did you have feelings for this chap that you obviously had feelings for this dead soldier? And she goes, I had feelings for him, but I didn't love him. And she said that throughout the entire book. There was no development, and there were more than one occasions. There are several kind of these, and they're not motifs. They're not motifs that you could say when it's to show that there's continuity. And it was just, it felt to me like lazy writing, because it was so repetitious. She would say virtually the same thing, and there was no development. There was no kind of awareness that she was saying the same thing to so many different people. And also, we didn't need to know as readers, you know, all right, got it. And it's like the description of her father never changes throughout the entire book. We've got it. You're like, by the 5th description of him, you're like, yeah, we've got it. Know exactly who kind of he is. He's a colonel that, you know, you served in India, and he's like that, and it's like, yep, got it. You don't need to keep explaining. You don't have to tell somebody else what he's like. We'll get it. And it was so many. There were so many things like that it was like it never got any better. It never developed. It never went any deeper. There's this one character that keeps saying to her, so, do you love all these people? Do you love all these men? And she's like, no, throughout the entire book. And you're like, all right, A, stop asking her, B, stop answering in that way, just sort it out. And it sounds like I really didn't enjoy the book. I did enjoy it, and I was quite happy I'd read it, but there were so many times I was going, why are we getting another one of those conversations? It's too repetitious. And also, as I say, there's this event that happens about 40% of the way through and dominates the rest of the book. And I was just like, no, that's not... It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel her reaction. So for example, the first 40% of the book, there's this kind of slow descriptions about what she does, so where she's going and what she's doing, and I love that kind of detailed description. I'm there for that. So there's lots of that, and then there's this big event that happens, and for the next 20% of the book, she's making decisions, and right, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here. And after the first bit where we've kind of worked out where she's going and we've been given, it's just so jarring that suddenly she's making these rash decisions and we're not getting any details about it. In fact, there was one entire event where she goes on a train and she goes to see somebody else. I had to reread it because I was like, huh? What? Because it happened within 3 paragraphs. I was like, what? Felt so unfleshed out. It felt wrong, and I wonder whether it is partly because there are 2 writers, and so they both have how I don't know how they split up the writing. I'm not sure it worked for me. So I felt really kind of in 2 places with this book. I really liked some of it. The first bit I really liked, but it never got going, and there were these repetitive descriptions, these repetitive conversations, these repetitive, descriptions of descriptors of people that was just like, no, and so yeah. So anyway, so it's A Duty to the Dead by Charles Todd. I'm really glad I've read it, and if I see the next one, then I may well pick it up, but I'm not sure I will go hunting for it. But I am still pleased that I read it, even with all my reservations. And then lastly, let's go shock myself with how long I'm going. I promised myself this wasn't going to be a long one, but it is. Never mind. I did a video earlier this week. I don't know whether you've seen it. It's want to know more about the Golden State Killer, because it's my latest true crime obsession. Actually, it's been my obsession for a while, but I've been watching and listening to a lot of podcasts, and I've been watching some TV documentaries, and I asked if anybody had any book recommendations, because I've read one book about it, but I haven't read any others. And somebody, as always, comes up trumps for me. It's like, the hive mind came up trumps and gave me a list of books that I could look at on Kindle Unlimited. Now, I actually don't use Kindle Unlimited, but I did borrow this from the Kindle library, and I gather you can borrow 1 book on your Kindle a month. And so this is the book that I've borrowed for this month. It's Anne Penn, Murder on His Mind, Serial Killer. And it is about the original Night Stalker, East Area Rapist, aka the Golden State Killer. So this was written before the Golden State Killer somebody was arrested. So this is something that happened in Sacramento and California in the 1970s and early 80s. And then the trail goes very cold for many, many, many years. And then there was a resurgence of interest, and law enforcement had been looking for him all that time. And then with using new DNA evidence and new DNA forensic techniques, do not cough on my books. They managed to track him down, and this book was written. There is a preface beforehand that says this is an edition. This book was written before he was found, but it is still interesting, and I hope you like it. And so this is the one that I'm going to start with. There are other books that were written after, and I shall read those in the coming months. So yes, that's what I'm reading. So it is written. Anne Penn is actually a relative. She is actually related to somebody who was unfortunately murdered by him. So has a very different kind of idea and a feel, and it's fascinating for that, because you hear people talking about it who looked for him, so for law enforcement, and then when you actually hear from the voices of the people that were affected, like in some of the things that I've been listening to, they actually have people who were raped by him, and hearing their stories and the emotional impact and how it happened 40 years ago, but it's still so raw, it's still so present for them. And then reading this is, again, it's a kind of reading from a kind of survivor. It's brilliant. I really, it brings it home in a different way, and it's just fascinating to me. So yeah, so I'm reading that. So I've only just started that today. So I'm only 5% through. As it's on the Kindle, I don't know how many pages it is, but I'm about 5% through, so I shall read this in the next couple of days. So that's my current reading plans. I'm not listening to anything in particular. I'm only listening to podcasts at the moment, going through Crime Junkie and reading there and listening to there at the moment. And that's it. That's it, BookTube. That's where I'm up to. So these I've finished this week, and I'm reading another, and yeah, all good stuff. Here we are in May. May's a very lovely month. It's my birthday month, and I always think your birthday month feels special to you. It's almost like you kind of, don't you? You know that you're special this month. So yes, it's my birthday month, so I like May. So yeah, I hope you're well. I hope you're having a good day. I shall pop the details of my Etsy shop down below, and all the details of the books that I talk about. And I hope you've enjoyed this. Let's do this again, BookTube. This has been lovely.